Welcome to the Virginia Tech Intramural Sports Ultimate Frisbee Preseason presentation. We are excited that you are a part of our intramural sports program, and we look forward to working with you and your team this year. In this presentation, we will review general intramural sports policies, procedures, important sports rules, captain's responsibilities, sportsmanship, and more. As captains, it is your responsibility to share the information presented in this video with your teammates. Feel free to send them the link to this presentation to view on their own time. We would like to thank Fox Ridge Apartment Homes for sponsoring this year's Captain's presentations and for the coveted Intramural Sports Championship t-shirt that all team sports winners receive. As a team captain for your intramural sports team, it is important that you understand your role on your team and within the intramural sports program. You are responsible for the recruitment and organization of your team. Please make sure that all team members are eligible, are notified of the sports rules, intramural sports policies and procedures, any communication and information coming from the intramural sports office, and when and where they are scheduled to play. All information can be found on the intramural sports website and within the Fusion IM portal. Having all teammates' cell numbers and emails will help you to be able to communicate with them in a timely fashion and provide updates for everyone. As a team captain, you are responsible for being familiar with all intramural sports game rules, policies, and procedures, as well as representing your team when discussing rule interpretations and player eligibility with intramural staff. More information regarding captain's responsibilities can be found in the Intramural Sports Policy Manual located on the Intramural Sports website. All Ultimate Frisbee games are played at the SRA fields. Teams need 6 players to start a game for men's, women's, and co-rec. Teams have a 10-minute grace period to get enough players. All players must have an intramural sports full membership and be added to the team roster prior to starting the game. All players must be checked in with the intramural sports staff and show their Hokie passport. It is important for all team members to show up at least 15 minutes early to start the game on time. Next, we will go over the 10-minute grace period. In Ultimate Frisbee, if one team is present at the start of the game and the opponent does not have the minimum number of players to play, the team present will have the option to start the game ahead by the score of the mercy rule, which is 4 or more points in men's or women's, or 10 or more point differential for co-rec. However, the team may also elect to have the game started with a 0-0 score if the opponent shows up prior to the end of the grace period. After the grace period ends, teams without the required number of players will forfeit the game. A double forfeit is called if neither team has enough players present and checked in to start the game at the end of the grace period. Teams that forfeit will be removed from the league and may be replaced with a team from the waiting list if the team does not pay the forfeit reinstatement fee of $20 on Fusion IM within 2 days after the forfeit. Always show up for games unless you are contacted by the intramural sports office. If your team knows that you will not have enough players to play in a game, you can log into Fusion IM, click on the game in your schedule you wish to forfeit, and click on the forfeit button. This will notify our intramural sports office and your opponent that the game will not be played. We greatly appreciate you using this feature as early as possible to notify us of any forfeits for your team. Team rosters. Players may be added to the roster online on Fusion IM before or when they check in for a game. There is no game limit to set your team roster, so players can be added the entire season, including playoffs. Many times there are free agents available to play, and captains can find them on Fusion IM and invite those players to join their team at any time during the season. The Intramural Sports full membership must be purchased prior to registering a player to the roster. Players may only play on one men's or women's team and one co-rec or open team. Players are locked on the team roster 3 weeks after the season begins, and players may not be removed to be added to another team after that 3rd week of games. Roster restrictions are only designated for intramural sports in which there is a Virginia Tech varsity or sports club team. The roster restrictions for Ultimate Frisbee are a maximum of 3 club players per team. Professional athletes are always ineligible, and if you suspect that a player is ineligible on an Ultimate Frisbee team, you may file a protest with the Intramural Sports Office. Player eligibility and rule misapplications are the only valid protests allowed. An eligibility protest may be made at any time before, during, or after a game, as well as any time during the sports season. A rule protest must be made prior to the restart of play Otherwise, the request will be denied. The rule protest must be made immediately at the time of the official's call. Captains may file a formal protest in the Intramural Sports Office with a protest form in 135 War Memorial Hall by 12 p.m. the next day after the game is played, with a $10 protest fee. If the protest was found to be correct, the fee will be refunded. If incorrect, the fee is lost. All league schedules, rosters, game results, and league information are posted on the Fusion IM portal. Log in to see your team and league information. We may contact teams to fill in spots if teams are dropped from the league, so please check your email regularly and respond to our messages when we ask you to. These games are extra games on top of what your team is originally scheduled for, so please still show up for your regularly scheduled games. The Intramural Sports Mission Statement says that it is the mission of the Intramural Sports Program under the Department of Recreational Sports at Virginia Tech to provide a wide range of individual and team activities at both the competitive and recreational level to students, faculty, staff, and other members of the university community. Our purpose is to provide exercise, recreation, and fun to our participants in a relaxed yet structured environment. Intramural sports are a crucial element of the student life experience because they promote and reinforce teamwork and personal accomplishment, mutual respect and integrity, competition and recreation, as well as skill and exercise. Everyone is encouraged to play to the best of their abilities. However, a win-at-all-costs attitude is inappropriate and strongly discouraged. The genuine value of intramural sports comes from the opportunity to participate, not from winning. Sportsmanship involves respect for all participants, officials, scorekeepers, intramural sports supervisors, and fans. To encourage sportsmanship for all intramural sports activities, a team sportsmanship rating has been developed to encourage proper sporting behavior during all intramural contests. The rating is based on a 5-point scale, and all teams must meet the minimum average sportsmanship rating of a 3.0 to be eligible for playoffs. This next section will go over the basic rules of Ultimate Frisbee. All Ultimate Frisbee games are played between teams of 7 players, with the minimum number of players to start being 6. All games will be 50 minutes in length with no timeouts. Due to time constraints and field availability, regular season games may end up in a tie, but once we reach the playoffs, all games will be played until there is a winner. Ultimate Frisbee is self-officiated, which means that there are no officials on the fields during the time of play, but you may check with a sports supervisor for clarification regarding rules, procedures, etc. The game will begin with a coin toss with the winner choosing to receive the disc or which side of the field they would like to defend. The non-receiving team will then pull the disc to begin the game. A pull consists of one player on the pulling team throwing the disc to the opposing team. Both teams must be lined up on their end zones until the pull is released. If the disc goes out of bounds or out the back of the end zone, the receiving team will bring the disc back into play to the spot closest to where it went out of bounds. No player on the pulling team may touch the disc until the receiving team has touched it. Should the receiving team drop the initial pull, the pulling team will receive the disc. The objective of Ultimate Frisbee is for a team to capture the disc in the other team's end zone by throwing the disc up the field. Players may not run with the disc at any time. Once a disc is caught, players may move by pivoting around 1 foot before releasing the disc within 10 seconds. The thrower has 10 seconds to release the disc, and it is the defender's responsibility to count out an audible 10-second count. Should the throwing team commit any fouls, they will forfeit the disc. If the team with the disc is fouled, players will reset and play will continue. Anytime the disc touches the ground either by a missed catch or being knocked to the ground by an opponent, the defending team will gain possession of the disc. In order to score a point, the player must catch the disc completely inside the end zone. After each score, teams may then substitute players if they choose to do so. Once substitutions are on the field, the team that just scored will pull the disc to the opposing team and play will resume. For co-rec games, a team shall have 3 players of one gender and 4 players of the other gender on the field at all times. There must be at least 3 males and 3 females in order to start the game. If a female is involved in the score, meaning she either caught the disc or threw the disc, the score will result in 3 points. Otherwise, all other co-rec scores are worth 2 points. The mercy rule for Ultimate Frisbee is if a men's or women's team is up by 4 scores with 2 minutes remaining in the game, or if a correct team is up by 10 points with 2 minutes left in the game shall end. During playoffs, if at the end of the 50 minutes there is a tie, a 3-minute overtime period will be played beginning with a coin toss. If after 3 minutes there is still a tie, a sudden death period shall be played. This next section regards game sites and equipment. All Ultimate Frisbee games are played at the SRA fields. Practice and game equipment will be provided by Intramural Sports. However, teams may use their own discs if both captains agree. All jewelry must be removed prior to play, with the exception of medical alert items or religious jewelry that must have prior approval by the staff in the Intramural Sports office prior to the games being played. Those items must be secured with tape. All teams must have both a white and dark colored jersey and bring both jerseys to all games. A team without enough jerseys to play will forfeit their game. Intramural Sports does not provide jerseys, shirts, or other equipment of that sort. Dark colored jerseys must be of a similar shade of color across the team. Opposing teams must wear different colors. Captains will determine who will wear the alternate color, and if no agreement can be made, the teams will forfeit the game. There are times when the weather does not cooperate, and decisions on game status will need to be made by the Intramural Sports staff depending on inclement weather. We will make a decision by 4:00 p.m. daily for the first scheduled game of the day. After 4:00 p.m., the game status is determined by the staff on site, and games will be scheduled according to the current and forecasted weather. To be up to date on the game status for inclement weather, visit Twitter at VT Intramurals, our Facebook page, Virginia Tech Intramural Sports, our website, recsports.bt.edu/intramuralsports, and the Virginia Tech Weather Hotline, which is 540-231-6060. Mark your calendar for the Ultimate Frisbee important dates of the season. The regular season will begin Friday, March 16th. The regular season ends Sunday, April 8th. Playoff brackets will be posted Wednesday, April 11th, with the playoffs beginning Friday, April 13th. The championship night presented by Fox Ridge Apartment Homes will be played Sunday, April 29th. If you have any questions, please see the Intramural Sports website at recsports.bt.edu/intramuralsports. You can find information on sports rules, intramural sports policies and procedures, as well as visit the Fusion IM portal for all teams, where you can find your roster information, game schedule, results information, and you may contact our office if you still have questions. Good luck, have a great season, and thank you for helping to make our Virginia Tech Intramural Sports program one of the finest in the country. Thank you to our sponsors for Virginia Tech Intramurals, Domino's Pizza for our championship nights, Fox Ridge Apartment Homes for sponsoring our championship t-shirts, and for PK's Bar and Grill for sponsoring the University Sports Officials Association.